Hey, he's keeping it clean, at least for the audience. That may be little.
Did you? Yeah, but I mean, they had stuff when we were kids, like the Newlywed Game, where all the host asked was, "Did you guys? You guys are newlyweds, right? What'd you do on the honeymoon? Come on, man. We all know what newlyweds do on the honeymoon."
If you're little, then that will be way over their heads. If you if you're the right age, oh, you knew, all right.
No, because even when we were little, they had stuff that was basically mostly about sex back in the day, like you know, Bugs Bunny, cross-dressing Bugs Bunny.
Oh God, I remember that.
Um, Daffy Duck's Quackbusters, where he makes out with that lady who's possessed.
Yeah.
Tex Avery and Red Riding Hood, where she goes out from the city into the country at this speakeasy, and the wolf is looking at her and losing his shit because she's hot. Like, listen, sex has always been a part of pop culture because sex sells.
True. I was just saying that if you were too young to understand it, then you probably wouldn't catch it on the spot.
Yeah, the joke might go over your head, but once you get older, you're like, I can't believe they let that go on TV. Don't get me started with Animaniacs.
Yeah, there's some things that would make you say they really put that in the show.
Well, I mean, there's in the first season, there's an episode where the Animaniacs on a they basically crash Dr. Scratch and Sniff's date, and
they rocked the car, didn't they?
They go to this drive-in movie theater, and they're bouncing and yelling in the car, whereas all these other cars are bouncing and yelling, but not because the Animaniacs are in their car. It's because back in the day when drive-thrus were popular, that's where teenagers would go to make out. So that's the joke. But if you're a kid, you don't get that. But if you're an adult, it's like, aha, I see what you did there, Animaniacs. You guys are slick. But anyway, before we go any further, let's have everyone introduce themselves, starting with the lady first. Go ahead, lady, introduce yourself.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of all ages, to the BS Busters Midweek Podcast for January 13th. I'm Joe Moonstar, and be sure to have, at least it's not Friday the 13th. You might need some good luck then.
Yeah, that's good. It's not Friday the 13th. It is Wednesday the 13th, which is better, I guess, by some whatever. Kenoshi?
And this is Kenoshi Abominito here to say, let them fight. I'll just leave it at that.
Let them fight.
Let them fight.
Let them fight. Anyone seen the how it should have happened for that movie, where it's animated and the guy's like, should we do something, Dr. Yamamoto? Shouldn't we evacuate the city? Let them fight. Shouldn't we call someone? Let them fight. You just want to see giant monsters fighting. Let them fight. That's all. Look, listen. Look, that's all we want. Look, listen. That's the mistake. Like, I remember one time when we were on a podcast when we had our other member, and he was like, people care about the story. No. When you go watch a giant monster movie, a disaster movie, or an action film, no one cares about the story. We just want to see gratuitous violence.
Yep.
I was going to say, the story leading up to the violence should not be in the way of the good stuff.
Look, if I'm watching a boxing match, I don't give a shit about the backstory of the fighters. I just want to see somebody get knocked the fuck out.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. That's it.
That's the thing. A good action movie, a good monster versus monster movie, a good thriller. The story keeps out of the way.
That dude got knocked. It's like Debo from Friday. when Red pops up there, hey man, I came to talk to you about my bike. Your bike? I mean, our bike. Yeah, it's right over here, homie. And he gets uppercutted by Debo, and they all walk up to him and they, man, you got knocked the fuck want to hear the back. Well, actually, that bike was. No, you got knocked the fuck out. That's it. So yeah, let them fight. And of course, it's me, Mr. Red Fox, owner proprietor of BS Buster. So we got a big news week, and no, I'm not talking about the current news that's happening in the Capitol. I'm talking about video game news.
I was about to say, please be something that isn't about to go down south all over the nation.
Let me put it this way. I could do an entire podcast just about that. I'm not going to. Mostly because as someone who worked on Capitol Hill for 2 years, as someone who majored in political science and sociology, as someone who used to work in the House of Representatives.
Oh, you poor soul.
It just hurts to see. But I'm gonna sweep that to the side and talk about something equally enjoyable to complain about, and much less consequential. We're going to talk about video games. So we have quite a few topics here, and this is breaking news. We did not see this shit coming. So the big one, the first big piece of news that we have is Lucasfilm Games has been created. So this is basically, since they sold the LucasArts to EA, which was a bad deal in my opinion. Lucasfilm Games has been created, so it's basically the new LucasArts, and basically the exclusivity license that EA had, that they signed in 2012, that they had for
don't tell me that got busted.
8 years. Well, they had 8 years, and they produced 4 games, 2 of which were shameless cash grabs, and the other 2 were games they had to be begged into making. And they still haven't made the game that people really wanted EA to make, considering that they had BioWare under their hood, under their
I was about to
aegis.
say, EA and high quality games. That's like vinegar and water.
There was a time
you need to shake them in order to put them together.
There was a time when EA made good games, or at least studios under EA made good games, but not anymore. Most of the games they make are shameless cash grabs. So they made 4 games. Star Wars Battlefront 2015, Star Wars Battlefront 2017, if I remember correctly. 2017. Mm-hmm. And the first game was kind of bare bones. The second game was a shameless cash grab where all of the primo content you had to grind for 50 hours to unlock a character, which is just, that's a full-time job. Actually, that's over full-time, because a full-time job is 40 hours. So that's 8 hours a day, 5 days a week. All right. So you basically had to work a full-time job to unlock one character in Star Wars Battlefront 2. Or you could spend $20, $30, $40, $50, $60, $100 on player cards to unlock those characters.
Yeah. I'd say Pride and Accomplishment was a skin for those stupid little things.
Yeah, basically, here's how greedy EA got. EA got so greedy that they fucked up their exclusivity license with Star Wars. Do you know how bad that is?
I'm surprised that hasn't happened with the sports companies.
Well, we all know that Madden is a greedy bastard, so the NFL is a greedy bastard. Let's keep it real, okay? And I'm not saying that they're both greedy corporate entities that American tax dollars go to, both state and federal. But
Star Wars and the NFL.
No, I was going to say the NFL and the NBA. But here's the difference between the NFL and the NBA. Okay, the NBA had the former owner of the Clippers, who used a racial slur and said, "I don't want you bringing black people to my basketball games." Now, not to get too political, but just from a strictly logistical standpoint, considering that like 92% of the NBA is made up of African American athletes, if you don't have black people in the NBA, you don't have an NBA.
How dumb do you have to be for some of those lines?
You literally have no
Oh
NBA.
wait, I got my IQ check already when I remembered who we're talking about.
So here's what happened. The commissioner of the NBA forced the owner of the Clippers to sell the team, and he did, and it was bought by Steve batshit crazy Ballmer. Developers. That's Steve batshit crazy Ballmer. Okay. And I personally think Steve Ballmer is crazy, is not quite as crazy as Donald Sterling, but he's still kind of cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. And the point is that they stepped in when someone did something fucked up, because it wasn't just about the money. It's like, this is basic logistics. The NFL has had a team that only this year, because of money reasons, last year, because of money reasons, they were forced to change the name of the team. The name of the team is the local team in the D.C. metropolitan area called the Washington Redskins. For those of you who don't know, Redskin is a racial epithet used to denigrate Native Americans. It's... and for years there have been boycotts and people were pissed, and nothing happened because there was too much merchandising money concerned with it. But that's the difference between the NFL and the NBA. NFL is like, look, this shit's about money. So as long as EA continues to print money with their Madden games, and the NFL gets their cut, they don't care. They don't give a flying fuck. But this just lets you, the fact that EA has lost the exclusivity clause with the Star Wars license only proves one really big thing. Apparently, those games did not sell all that well. Not nearly as well as Disney thought they should sell, and Lucasfilm thought they should sell. So, which leads to a follow-up, folks. A new Star Wars game is being made by Ubisoft. Or should we call Ubi shit? Ubisoft shit?
Remember who our
asshole of the year
was?
Yeah. Well,
and then you hear that.
To be fair, the people making this game are the same studio that made The Division and The Division 2. So I personally am not holding out much hope for this game, but this also means that there's no longer exclusivity, which means that Lucasfilm Games has the ability to license out the Star Wars license to anyone who gives them a pitch, which means other Star Wars games can be made, which is awesome. Your thoughts?
It's it'll be nice to see Star Wars get wrested away from EA.
I'm happy for that too, though. Possibly. Yeah, I'm agreeing with Kenoshi on that one, but knowing who's making the next game, well, you can get where I'm coming from.
I understand, but here's the thing, okay? Ubisoft's games are boring as hell. So we know, it says that they're making an open world Star Wars game, and I'm like, if it's open world and it's a Star Wars game, you're going to need some really creative writing or really creative character creation in order to make it interesting. Will that be the case? I don't know. But, now that the license is open to whoever can pitch it and get the license, means that potentially we could get a complete re-release of the Star Wars Rogue Squadron trilogy. The entire trilogy! The entire damn trilogy! Which, to be fair, Rogue Squadron 2 is the best one in the trilogy. It's like a better version of the original Rogue Squadron. Rogue Squadron 3, the vehicle missions are good, but the on-foot missions are just trash. Like, I don't know why they added that to that game. But overall, it's a pretty good trilogy. I would give it a 80%. So, I mean, hell, if BioWare isn't going to make a KOTOR 3, maybe they could get Obsidian over there at Microsoft to make a KOTOR 3. Knights of the Old Republic 3?
There's hope, though. I think we might need to dig it out of the basement first.
I mean, don't forget, they had to make... They made KOTOR 2. And KOTOR 2, while it was an incomplete game, and they just kind of, like, had to mash it together at the end in order to get it to come out.
Yeah.
They basically... Obsidian made a game that had a more in-depth storyline, a better morality system, a better written characterizations between... character motives between the characters, aside from the shallow-ass black and white shit you had in the original KOTOR that BioWare did. And BioWare had like 5-6 years to make that game. Obsidian had 12 months. So imagine what Obsidian could do if they had...
With full range,
5 years to make a KOTOR 3.
I'd say they'd be given a good chance. The thing is that I was saying that I have to dig my hopes out of the basement to hope that comes out good.
Also from Lucasfilm, apparently the team that made Wolfenstein, the new Wolfenstein games, is now being tapped to make an Indiana Jones game. So essentially
that's a surprise.
Yeah, they traded in killing cyberpunk Nazis, steampunk Nazis, into killing historical Nazis as Dr. Jones. It belongs in a museum. And I'm totally cool. I'm totally down with this.
I'd say this got Red Fox's blood pumping.
I mean, do you know how long it's been since we've had a good Indiana Jones game?
I'd say since the PS2 era.
Yep. 6th gen, yeah. The 6th gen is the last time we had a good Indiana Jones game. And it was a point-and-click game. But it was still pretty good.
Wait, what?
Yeah, it was an adventure game. It was still pretty good.
You said it was a point-and-click.
Yeah, but that was adventure games at that time. Those were adventure games.
Ah. It's just that it was weird hearing that that was a point-and-click.
Yeah, it was still pretty good, though. Look, any game that lets me go around mowing down Nazis with Tommy guns, throwing them out of airplanes and dirigibles, just horrifically murdering Nazi pieces of fascist pieces of shit. Because here's the thing. Look, listen. Indiana Jones is propaganda. It's anti-Nazi propaganda. It's trained us to hate Nazis.
I was going to say, kind of like Captain
Star
America.
Wars. Actually, I was going to say Star Wars. Look, you want to know why there's no defense for the Empire? Because the Empire are essentially space Nazis. And no one's going to defend space Nazis.
I was going to say, did the sequel trilogy did that?
I'm not sure. I don't think so.
I was hoping not, because if they did, oh God, there's going to be some Hades.
When I watched the sequel trilogy, I was too busy just getting angrier and angrier as the film went on, to the point where I almost had an aneurysm while I was watching it.
I get where you're coming from. I'm just saying that when you get the logic of the story, then some things will hit you a lot harder than you want it to.
I'll give an example. Kenoshi, have you ever seen a movie that you went to go see and you got angry as the movie was going on? And when the movie ended, you were so mad at what happened in the movie, you were like, I need to flip a table over. You didn't, but you felt like you needed to.
Cloud Atlas is one of those movies.
Because
It made no freaking sense. It's like this movie was a waste of my time.
What, you didn't like that part where Tom Hanks throws the dude out a fucking window? That was kind of cool. I mean, I was like, wow, because you never see Tom Hanks do some badass shit in a movie. He's normally all nice and everything.
It just didn't make any sense. It's like, why is all this stuff happening?
Because it was the Wachowski brothers, siblings, sisters now. And the Wachowskis have been coasting on The Matrix 1 for years now. They've been coasting on the Matrix. Because everything else they've done. Well, it could be the next Matrix. And every studio falls for that tagline. Well, maybe it could be.
That's a lofty goal.
You know. But for me, the movie that I watched that made me just start to hate, that I knew that just started to hate as I watched it. Like, my anger just got worse and worse the longer I watched it, was Man of Steel. I mean, I hate that movie. It's one of those films that I'm sitting there watching it and I'm just like, this movie, whoever wrote the script for this movie doesn't understand this character. The story is trash. Like some people, like the fact that Zack Snyder basically remade Superman 1 and 2 by Richard Donner and Richard Linklater, but did a shittier version of Superman 1 and 2 is offensive to me. Because Henry Cavill ain't no Christopher Reeves, I'll tell you that much. And Kevin Costner and Diane, whatever the fucker's name is, are no Ma and Pa Kent. I'll tell you that much right now. But yeah, the shit's just lazy. But anyway, you know, I want it to be good. I would love for the Wolfenstein people to make a good Star Wars game. I mean, a good Indiana Jones game. But I just have two caveats. If you do make a Star Wars game, I'm gonna need Henry James Jr. Sr. to be in it, and Short Round.
That's a small request list.
Just the reason I want Henry James Jones Sr. is because I like the dynamic between Indiana and his dad. Because his dad just busts his balls all the time. Junior!
Ouch.
You gave her the diary? Junior, you have to get my diary back. My journal. And Short Round.
I can only imagine he used that for a black book.
She talks in. I know she's a Nazi. How'd you know? She talks in her sleep.
Oh.
He's like, oh yeah, a man gets lonely, son. So yeah, Indiana. The fact that they're making an Indiana Jones game, I think it's going to be awesome. Like we can actually digitize a young version of Harrison Ford because he's like 83 now, as in old as fuck. And
go ahead.
No,
I was going to say that with the voice acting, at least he won't be having to get heavy makeup on for that.
Yeah, but you can't. If they use him as a voice actor, you can't disguise how old he sounds now.
True that.
Like James Earl Jones, if you listen to him now, he's not nearly as, he sounds frail when he talks, which is kind of sad. Because he's old. I mean, you know, dude's like really.
Yeah,
old,
I was saying that if anything, put somebody in the right position, and even with a voice acting script, then you'll be able to pull it off in a video game.
I mean, the only dude who can still kind of like, even though he's older, still sounds really good is Mark Hamill. Like Mark Hamill and maybe Kevin Conroy. Kevin Conroy's gotten older, but he still sounds really good as a voice actor. But that's my opinion. So yeah, I would love to see a good Indiana Jones game. It's coming from Wolfenstein Studio Machine Games and published by Bethesda. So maybe it'll be good.
One could hope.
I mean, like, here's the thing. People are like, well, why aren't you getting mad because it's Bethesda? Bethesda's just publishing the shit. And while the new Wolfenstein game apparently wasn't that good, I think that was more a design choice. They just made some bad design choices for that game. Whereas Indiana Jones has a much larger palette to go through. Because, if you make an Indiana Jones game, it's basically Tomb Raider. Except you can have magic and shit in it. Because Indiana Jones is in a universe where they apparently have magic. And aliens. Apparently. So, that's some big news, folks. Lucasfilm Games is the heir apparent to LucasArts, and they have some major projects on the line. So, coming through, and this also means that EA has lost its exclusivity license, which is great because they should have never fucking had an exclusivity license. So, and I think this explains why that Star Wars game that came out the year before last, Squadrons, they were like, we're not going to be adding a lot of DLC to this. Because why would they add a lot of DLC to something when it's not exclusive? Like, people can make shit that can surpass it in the same license, you know? So, for EA, at this point, it's just, they probably renegotiated the contract to give up exclusivity and pay a smaller licensing fee for the games. And also not have to make as many games under the Star Wars license. Which is a smart move for them because it's not like they were doing shit with it. Aside making 2 shitty-ass Battlefront games. And 1 Souls clone. Dark Souls clone. With a Star Wars character. And a shitty version of Rogue Squadron. So, EA hasn't really made a lot of good games under the Star Wars license, for lack of a better term. So, I mean, that's enough about that. Let's move on to the next topic. So the next news story is Game Explain, apparently.
Yeah.
Oh, I remember those guys. What happened to them?
Apparently they haven't been paying their employees.
Wait, what?
Or at least been unfair to their employees as it comes to payment. And a couple of their ex-employees have come out and spoken about this whole payment situation. Well, one example is the embargo for Final Fantasy Remake. I think when that game, the embargo lifted, I think it was like March or April 6th, and they were given and one of the people were given it April 4th, and they had to beat the game and write the review by the 6th. So they were up for 2 days trying to beat that freaking game. So, freaking crazy. And there's some other weird payment things that they were doing.
And they weren't paid for staying up that long? Doing it?
Nope. They were only paid like.
Well, the question is, were they wage employees or salaried employees? Because if they were wage employees and they worked that long, they should be paid the wages for how long they worked.
I think one of them was offered $500 a month for their services, and then
is this full time or just like a blank amount?
That's the thing about these YouTube services. It's not really sure what full time is indicates. I didn't look up too much.
Okay.
Too much into this. I just know that they haven't been paying their employees the amount of money that they've been weird about their whole payment.
Okay. Okay. So from the information you just gave me, and I'm being very tentative because it wasn't that complete. I did not watch the video because, unfortunately, I've just I read an article about it and I didn't read the video. But from what I understand from the article and what I've heard from various folks, basically, Game Explain had kind of a hostile work environment for their employees, and they weren't being paid enough. And all of it boils down to what type of employee you were. So if you're a waged employee and you worked 3 days, let's say 18-hour days for 3 days to finish a game, those people need to be paid for their work. If you're a salaried employees typically don't get overtime.
Oh boy.
Salary employees typically might get a bonus, or a cash award for meeting or exceeding goals. They don't get overtime because, like, salaried employees don't get
extras.
Well, I mean, they don't work by the hour.
They work by the job, right?
No, they get an annual salary. So it's not really like like if you make $120,000 a year and that's your salary, then as long as you do your job, you're gonna make $120,000 that year. Period. Before taxes. After taxes, it's probably gonna go down to like 100, 98, 99. And then you might get a cash award, for maybe you go above and beyond. You might get a $5,000 award for, I don't know, $10,000 for doing X, Y, or Z. And that's the form of a bonus. But typically speaking, salaried workers don't get paid by the hour. Although they do have to work a certain amount of hours in order to be
eligible
to retain their salary. So it's kind of like they don't get paid by the hour, but they do have like sick days and hours of leave that they do. But the hours of leave are just kind of like money that they can spend and not get it incurred into their total overall salary. That's why you have like sick days, vacation days, that type of shit. That's why a lot of employees who are salaried employees save their sick days and vacation days, because when they can retire, they can cash out those days and they get the money that those days they would normally spend on those days, and they just get that money for themselves. So that's kind of cool. But as far as Game Explain goes, if they were fucking over their employees, that's not good. Because good help is hard to find.
Especially in the age that we're in right now.
Well, good help is hard to find anyway. Skilled labor is hard to find.
Mm-hmm.
So that's all I got to say about that. Kadoshi, your thoughts on it?
No,
The New Year is a person as such that
created by ex-IGN employees or something like that. Isn't that?
I mean, I don't know. If they're ex-IGN employees, then they should be used to getting shafted by their employer.
Yeah, I just think it's one of those things where the money that Game Explain was making, it kind of went to their heads.
They should have paid their employees.
Yeah, I think the money went to their heads, and just seems like, this seems to be another boring Tuesday afternoon when it comes to this stuff. To tell you the truth, it's like, oh, a YouTuber, a YouTuber organization that let the money go to their heads. What else is new?
That's a fair point. I personally, I don't here's the thing. We don't know what they were thinking, and no one has been really clear on what was going on. Like, enough people haven't given a picture that we don't know the total thing. What I do think is, as a business owner, if you don't take care of your employees, because here's the thing, okay? If you have employees and you train them, they become assets. If you train them and they become really good at their job, that means you have to spend less time watching over them, which means you can spend more time making deals, growing the business, streamlining things that can be streamlined, thereby making because your employees are just as much as an investment as anything else you would invest in your business. Like, if you own a business that's tech oriented and you basically buy like a new computer, that's just as much as an investment as hiring on someone who can repair those computer systems. So not taking care of your employees is a fast way for a business to fall apart. So, and that's all I'm going to say about it. Anyone have anything else they want to say about Game Explain before we move on to the next topic?
Well, I stopped watching them for one thing.
Yeah, that's the thing. I haven't really watched Game Explain in a while.
Yeah, I used to watch them for basically the news and how they're upbeat to a point, but it sounded more forced when I think about it.
Yeah.
At the time that I was leaving them.
Well, here's some news. The 30XX, the sequel to 20XX, is coming. Is hitting early access on Steam.
Hold on, you said 30XX, the
yes.
sequel to 20XX.
Correct.
That is a Mega Man roguelike.
Yes, and it is hitting Steam early access in February 17th, 2021.
People, please support this game if you can.
Well, I bought the first one, so I'll buy this one. That's going to be a busy week for me because I'm buying Super Mario 3D World, Bowser's Fury, and I'll get this too.
I was going to ask real quick. You seen the trailers for that, right?
Yeah, I was looking at it. I'm like, wow, this looks great.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, I wish that Mario Odyssey had been more like this game than what it was, to be honest with you.
I could fully agree with you on that because I played it, and while I did enjoy it, it felt a little bit thinner than one of those wafer cookies.
The thing is, once you play it and unlock everything and beat it, it just doesn't have much come back to it for anything. And the levels aren't really fun to go back to. Because the levels, it doesn't really have levels. It just has, you have this massive open, semi-open world, and then you can do shit in it. It's like going to a playground, but you've played with everything. It's like, well, I'll come back later on if I want to, but I don't really need to.
If anything, it feels like only a completionist could play Odyssey all that much.
And then, once you've unlocked everything, it's like, well, where do I go from here? I have all the outfits. I have all the stickers, I've collected all the souvenirs. What else is there left to do? It does. I mean, it would be one thing if they had like, okay, you can play as Princess Peach or Luigi, or Captain Toad, but
I was going to make the commentary of that.
Shit, even Yoshi.
Luigi, I was going to say, Luigi, you have him as a mini game.
Yeah, but it's
Peach
not.
Leaves you high and dry.
Yeah, so it's just whatever. I'm not going to spend 20, 30 minutes bitching about how Mario Odyssey isn't as good as it could have been. Anyway, next little bit of news. Hogwarts Legacy has been delayed into 2022, so...
Okay.
Those of you hoping for a Hogwarts Legacy, well, there you go. Let's see what else. I guess we can talk about CES. AMD's coup at CES. Kenoshi, you want to dive into your take on this?
I saw a Linus Tech Tips video on all the new Asus laptops, and guess what? They all had AMD mobile chips inside of them. These were the ROG gaming higher end laptops. I don't think you've seen a high end chipset, AMD chipset, in a laptop. I don't think you've seen an AMD chipset in a high end laptop for ever.
Never.
And never.
Just now.
Intel's in a little bit of trouble. They got AMD and they got
ARM.
They got ARM to deal. Yeah.
But to be fair, ARM is pretty much right now. Microsoft is developing their own ARM chipset. Apple has just put out their own ARM chipset last year with their new notebooks and shit, MacBooks. So, I mean, like, here's the thing. Intel still is holding like 80% of the market right now. And I can't stress 80% is still a huge amount of the market. But, you know, I do see AMD chipping away at that lead. It'll probably go down to like 70, 65% before Intel can make a viable counter
creation
to AMD and ARM. But I mean, I'm rooting for them because listen, I like AMD, but AMD is starting to get arrogant too.
Yeah, they all do. They all do.
You know, like Nvidia got arrogant last gen because they had their shit and everything. And now this gen, you know, Nvidia, the only console that Nvidia has their shit in is Nintendo. And Nintendo is using a customized version of their old shit. So
yeah,
it's not like they're getting top dollar for those chipsets. So point being is this. AMD is kind of, how can I put this? They're getting a little arrogant with their pricing. And I'm not going to lie about it.
Yeah.
So, you know, hopefully they can turn their shit around. Hopefully Intel can turn their shit around. But the competition means that you'll be able to get Intel graphics cards and Intel
for a lower price.
CPUs for a lower price because they have to compete, which is a good thing. You know, competition is a good thing. You know,
competition that pushes you is good competition.
I mean, best examples, Nintendo and Sega during the 16-bit era, where the only thing they could really do was talk shit about each other and come out with games, right? That's all you could do, you know? So at this point, you know, they're going to have to compete against each other and use some quality there, and not be so bent on have some competitive pricing. Knock on wood.
Yeah.
So, anything else I want to say, Kenoshi, before we move on to the next topic?
Nah, I'm good.
All right. So the next little bit of news: Mass Effect Legendary Edition may, I quote, may be coming in March. Oh wait, I forgot. You guys aren't Mass Effect fans. I'm a Mass Effect fan, and I'm totally okay with this. I'm a huge Mass Effect fan. I love this franchise. I think it's fucking awesome. And the fact that you can get this game and get all that DLC, all the single player DLC, all the little, the stuff that you used to have to buy this version, that version in order to get or pre-order, you can get all that shit in one game. So, to me, it's totally worth it.
That sounds good. Hopefully it's good. Hopefully they don't screw it up.
Well, I mean, it would be kind of hard to mess this up. But then again, we are talking about EA, so I don't want to curse it by saying nothing could possibly go wrong. Next little bit of news. A Polish regulator investigates CD Projekt Red over Cyberpunk 2077's troubled launch.
Oh boy.
Yeah, the hits just keep on coming in for that company. I don't know what to say except for, if you're an investor and you invested in a product, there's a chance that it might fail. That's why it's called investment and not, a sure thing. So, there you go.
Yeah.
Let's see. We talked about the new Star Wars game. Oh yeah, the Cyberpunk CEO, co-founder, not the CEO, the co-founder, basically made an apology video. Hey
everyone.
A little bit over 5-minute apology video talking about basically that they rushed the game out. It's not the developer's fault. It's the management's fault. The dude basically had a fall on his sword, Satoru Iwata bow moment.
They had to commit seppuku, huh? Seppuku.
Well, look, he said the right things. He's like, look, listen, we fucked up. It's on us. It's not the developers. We're pushing back our DLC until later this year. We're going to focus on fixing the game, which is what you should be doing anyway. You should be focusing on fixing the game. It needs to be fixed right now. Now, fortunately, the patches they've been releasing for the game have been making it more stable on PC. He confirms what we've always said. The lead platform for this game was PC. Which is what I've been saying for a while now. Listen, I'm not saying
you need a higher-end PC of sorts to be able to enjoy it.
Mid-tier to higher tier, yeah. But still, PC was the lead platform for this game. So, like I said, if you have a PS4 and Xbox One, look, listen, you deserve to have a full gaming experience. But, come on, man. You know that a PC development house is not gonna, why would you expect them to know how to really get it to run on console hardware? And I know that the PS4 and the Xbox One are more like micro gaming PCs than consoles, but they're console enough that it's not gonna be a straight port. And it wasn't, because look how badly it runs on those two systems.
Yeah.
So, I mean, look, I feel sorry for you guys, but don't make that leap into logic like that. Don't think, well, they can get it, because I remember when they showed footage of this game, they never showed any PS4 or Xbox One footage. All they showed was PS5, Xbox Series X, and PC footage. That should have been a clue. Don't buy this game for the PS4 or the Xbox One. Caveat emptor. Let the buyer beware. All right? Do your research before you just go and buy stuff. Now, I know what some people are going to say. You own this game. Yeah, but I bought it for PC. I upgraded my PC for this game. And Crysis Remastered. And here's something you might not know. We can once again say, hey, is your PC good enough to run Crysis? Because Crysis Remastered, running at high settings, cannot run on the best hardware available commercially right now. On maxed out settings, it cannot run. So once again, can it run Crysis is a valid benchmark for how good your PC hardware is.
Gotta love on optimization.
No, the thing is, it's just if you want to enjoy the full, all the bennies and caveats, you need a rig that can do it. I mean, look, listen, it's good that there are games that push hardware to the limits, because it basically forces developers and hardware manufacturers to be better. I remember someone saying, "Well, could you imagine what would happen if Nintendo never didn't jump off of the NES for like 10 years?" I'm like, that would have been horrible. Terrible thing.
Speaking of Nintendo.
Yes.
Well, that's a surprise that we got somebody entering like that.
Yeah, Kirby Lover, what would you like to add for Nintendo, since we've gotten through all the news stories? What would you like to add?
What do you guys think of that new 3D World trailer with the side game?
I liked it.
Bowser's Fury.
I liked it.
Oh.
I was surprised.
It's surprising. I thought.
I'll be honest with you. I would have preferred if Mario Odyssey was more like Mario 3D World than what we got. But then again, I like 3D World more than Mario Odyssey, so.
Yeah.
Because it's got Rosalina, the best bae. Rosalina.
Yeah, I'm so excited.
Well, I'm not that excited. I'm just, I'm moderately excited.
Right.
I'm stoically optimistic. So, anyway, I'm looking forward to that game. It comes out February 12th of next month. So a little over a month from now. How do you guys feel about it? How do you guys feel about 3D World, Mario 3D World, Super Mario 3D World?
Right now, I'm feeling pretty surprised and excited about it, even though it will be coming out near my birthday.
Well, wait a second. Let me address the counter argument that some people may say. But Red Fox, how can you buy this game when you were so against 3D Mario 35, Super Mario 3D All Stars? This is a re-release, yeah, but it's a re-release that's adding like 25-30% more game to the base game and a whole bunch of new content. Mario 3D All Stars didn't add shit new to those games.
I was about to say, they did add something, but it was superficial.
It should have been remakes.
What?
I was saying that.
Oh, sorry.
I get what you're saying, that they should be remakes. I was saying that they did add something, but it was mostly superficial, like music, art concepts, and that kind of stuff.
I mean, even if they'd done something like, hey, if you beat all 3 games, you unlock Super Mario 3D, Super Mario Galaxy 2. That would have been more interesting. But, I mean, it's just... That was some lazy-ass bullshit. I'm sorry. I know some people are going to be like, how can you say that? You're a Nintendo fan. I'm calling it lazy-ass bullshit because I am a Nintendo fan. And I've seen them be better.
I was going to say that I don't consider it lazy. A little bit price grabby, but not lazy. Though
I think it was lazy.
I do see that it could have been more.
Considering the high bar that Nintendo normally does with their remakes, it was lazy. To me. It could have been much better.
The funny thing is, I consider it a re-release than a remake.
Yeah. It was lazy. It was a lazy re-release. Just, it could have been so much better than what it was. And considering that Nintendo normally, normally when I have a high bar for Nintendo, they either meet it or surpass it. And I had a high bar for them, and they just ran under it and knocked it down as they went under it too. So that Mario 3D All Stars was just a disappointing re-release of 3 good games, but I mean, it's like they had no fucking ambition with that re-release.
Oh yeah, it was so lazy, so lazy.
You know, and I know what some people are gonna say. What do you mean? Okay, anyone here played through Mario Galaxy 2?
Yes.
I only did 1.
Remember the throwback level where they remade levels from Super Mario 64?
A few Throwback Galaxy, yeah, they did the second painting, especially.
And I'm like, okay, so obviously you could remake Mario 64 with a better engine. And yet you would rather just re-release the same game. I mean, it's just lazy. I'm sorry, it's just really fucking lazy. And I know they're better than this. I know they could, you know, take the blinders off and let them soar. Come on, let them do something impressive and amazing. But, you know, it is what it is. Anyone else have anything else they want to say about it until we move to the next topic?
Well, I like how the world's a giant playground.
In what? Mario Odyssey?
No, not Mario Odyssey. I mean, no, this is more playground.
3D World?
Than Mario Odyssey, the Bowser's Fury game.
Is it? It didn't look like that to me, but, you know, whatever. I mean, listen. It just looked like it looked like it looks like whoever made that addition, that expansion, just had fun, and just said, "I'm gonna make something fun to go through." And 3D World is fun. It's a fun game. The levels are enjoyable. When you figure out a puzzle and how to get all the stamps and the stars and the crowns, you're like, "This is great. This is fun."
So the real challenge will be trying to do it as every character. Oh boy.
That makes it even more fun because then you figure out different ways to use different characters, which encourages you to learn how to master different characters. It's like Toad's really fast, but he's, you know.
But his jump
kind of sucks. Back. Luigi's jump is really good. It's like the second best in the game, but he's kind of light.
He's slippery. I was about to say, he's more slippery.
You know, Mario's Mr. Well Balanced, and Peach, well, she's easy mode because she can hover for a little bit.
I was about to say that float doesn't last forever, you know.
No, that's why I like Rosalina, because she has that twirl from Mario Galaxy, that star twirl that also can double as an attack, which is great.
Yeah. She's easy mode.
No. Peach is the easy mode character because she has that hover, and I know it's not as long as it is in the in Mario USA, but it still like can really save your ass in long jumps and shit like that. But I mean, I'm okay with that. You know, at least they didn't do the shit they did in Super Princess Peach, where her emotions make her give her special powers.
Oh, Gabu, please don't remind me of that.
Which, aside from that, is actually a pretty good game, but it's just...
Yeah, especially when you get to the end and hear the indications.
Yeah, yeah. Anyway, with that being said, we have a few fun topics to get through before we wrap things up, so let's get to them. First fun topic. Now that Lucasfilm Games is created, what other IPs would you like to see get a video game from Lucasfilm?
What Lucas games do I want to see from the Lucasfilm crew?
Yep. And you can give derivatives of things that already exist. Like you could say, I want a Star Wars game that's all pod racing.
To be honest with you, I was gonna make two suggestions. One would be a proper racing game, and two would be actually the weirdest one I probably might have pulled out of my rear end. Either MIB or Wild Wild West.
Lucasfilm doesn't own those rights.
Okay, I was a little goofed there. That's my bad, so sorry about that.
I only know of three franchises they own.
Star Wars, Indiana Jones, Willow.
Harry Potter.
They don't own Harry Potter.
No.
That's
no,
WB.
they own Harry Potter.
That's Warner Brothers.
Okay.
And J.K. Rowling, who turns out to be kind of an asshole. I mean, who would have known? Although it should have been obvious when she wrote The Crimes of Grindelwald in that Fantastic Beasts book that no one was asking for.
Well, they got to continue the franchise. There's got to be more money to be made.
Do you?
Got to get paid.
Do you though?
Yeah.
I mean, even fans of Harry Potter weren't like saying, "Yeah, we need more Harry Potter." They were like, "Give us, take a break. Let us, how can I miss you when you won't go away for a little bit, you know?" Okay, I'll go. I would like to see a Willow video game because we had a couple back in the day that were really good. It was there was one for the NES and one for the NES and one for the SNES. One for the NES and one for the arcade. They also own The Land Before Time. They helped put that out. I don't want a Land Before Time movie though, because that would be, video game. That would be terrible.
Yeah.
How about Howard the Duck, the video game? How about Red Tails, the video game? You get to have dog fights and blow up fucking.
I mean, The Land Before Time. You can make a movie about a time traveler helping
Littlefoot.
Help with Littlefoot murder the shark teeth.
And Ducky.
Yeah.
And the little girl who played Ducky died,
that could
right?
Be a...
Dang.
No, she died, so I don't really.
I mean, the actual voice actress?
Yeah, she died.
How did she die?
She had cancer. She died.
Oh,
She died. It was tragic. Yeah.
When'd she die?
I don't know, but you can look it up. Like the child actress of Ducky, like she died. She I don't remember when she died, but I know she died.
I didn't know they owned the land before time. It's so weird.
Yeah.
I remember watching those as a kid, enjoying them.
I mean, the first one's really good. The second one,
I felt like they made 1 million of those.
well, they made like 9 of them. The first 2 or 3 are pretty good. After that, it just kind of goes downhill. Like I said, personally, I love Willow. I think Willow's pretty good. I know this is gonna sound pretty bad, but I actually do like Howard the Duck, the movie.
No.
I know some people be like, oh, "What do you mean you like Howard the Duck?" I like that movie. It's terrible, but I like it.
Oh, so you like it ironically?
No, not ironically. It's just, it's bad. Like, it's one of those movies that it was on TV all the time when I was a little kid. It was on cable, on HBO. And I used to watch it. And I watched it so much that, like, it grew on me.
It became mediocre for you, right?
It's kind of like if you're forced to listen to a song so much that you go from not liking it, you go from it being this is okay to you hating it to you going back around to it's not really that bad, and then you start to like it. Like it basically Munchausen syndrome to me. Not Munchausen, yeah, Munchausen syndrome to me, where I began to like Howard the Duck. I don't think that's bad of a movie. Mostly because of the fucked up shit that happens in it, where I'm like, I can't believe that they allowed this in this film because this is terrible. They could do a Rogue One video game.
Going back to the Harry Potter stuff, I think more people are interested in the expanded Star Wars universe than they are in an expanded Harry Potter universe.
I mean, because the Harry Potter universe just doesn't really work when you factor in technology.
Yeah, because she ruined that in the 4th book.
Because she's like, well, the wizards are really powerful and they're so badass, but there's such a small amount of them, and it's been proven that technology, like the reason that the wizards haven't taken over the rest of the world is because science and technology, like non-magical people have science and technology, which in some ways has surpassed what magic can do. So
highly surpassed.
That would make an interesting idea for,
Yeah, but these are good ideas. She wants to,
Yeah, I mean, she ruined that in the 4th book. It's like, man, well, you just threw away a whole bunch of good ideas by stating the fact that magic or technology cannot coexist with each other.
Yeah.
That science and magic cannot coexist within each other.
Even though they had a flying car. They stole a flying car! They stole a flying car! And that's magic and technology. Never mind. I'm not... But here's the thing. She doesn't even have consistency in the own rules of her universe, so, whatever.
Time travel. Time travel is utterly broken.
Oh, God, don't get me started on the time travel problems that many things do, but especially this one does wrong.
I'm just going to let it go. At this point, I'm just, like...
I'll admit, I enjoy the Harry Potter universe and that stuff, but I am not afraid to admit that there's a lot of things wrong with it.
Well, I mean, the problem with Rowling is that her fantasy universe is not the best, most well-written. What gets people into Harry Potter are the relationships that the characters have with each other and how the characters change over time. Harry, Ron, Hermione, like how their personal journey. But when it comes to building a universe, her universe building is trash. It's not good at all. And Voldemort is a fucking terrible villain. Not because he's particularly evil. He's just not well written.
I was about to say, a terribly made villain can easily ruin a story plot if it's done wrong.
Voldemort, let me put it this way. Ralph Fiennes playing Voldemort was a better Voldemort than the Voldemort that's in the books, who's just shit.
Well, the thing about Voldemort is I'm mad because I had daddy issues, and my dad was this guy with daddy issues, and just there was really not much of a reason for him to be mad.
Basically, he pulls a Sephiroth. It's like, I have parent issues, I'm an asshole, so everyone must die. Why do these people always jump to everyone must die because they have parental issues? Like, why can't you just go and get some therapy? Maybe, I don't know.
Get some tail.
Go someplace
else. Parental issues wouldn't be such a big deal if they actually were well written.
Yeah.
Plenty of characters that have parental issues that were like the parents turned out to be villains, or they just it's just like.
Here's what I'm gonna say. I would personally say that you could, theoretically speaking, there are better written, more well written, more interesting fantasy books than Harry Potter. But Harry Potter isn't really a fantasy book. It's the typical English schoolboy slice of life book series, where you basically follow a child's a year in a kid's life in school and their trials and tribulations, which is popular in the UK. Like, they like books like that. But me personally, I started reading it, and I'm like everyone's like, you got to read Harry Potter, it's awesome. And I hadn't read it because I had been reading, like, Harry Potter starts out, it's basically for kids. It's literally built for like 5th, 6th graders, the first book. And when I was in 3rd, 4th grade, 5th grade, I was reading in the adult section fantasy, stuff that had like sex and violence and blood and guts and real mature things.
All kinds of action.
So when someone said you had to read Harry Potter, it's really good, and I read it, I'm like, this shit is lame. It's like, to me, Harry Potter is like I'm reading deep poetry by some of the best poets of all time, and someone says, hey man, you really need to read this Dr. Seuss. There's nothing wrong with Dr. Seuss. I have nothing against green eggs and ham.
I was about to say, it's like comparing a complex meal that has delicacies upon delicacies.
Actually, I take that back.
Versus a cheese sandwich.
It's like reading. It's like someone giving you. It's like I'm reading fantasy from like Margaret Weiss, Tracy Hickman, Ursula K. Le Guin, Patricia Reed, and then someone's like, hey, read this book, See Spot Run, Run Spot Run. Like, that's Harry Potter to me. I'm not impressed by Harry Potter. I've never been impressed by Harry Potter. I find it to be
insulting.
No, just like not very complex. I mean, that's kind of the problem with J.K. Rowling, is that she kind of found a lot of success with a overly simplistic narrative story, and she never really matured as a writer in terms of that. And that kind of made her, she kind of fell apart on that. But that's just me. But as far as I'm concerned, yes, I would love to see, there's a lot of movies here in the filmography of of Lucasfilm.
You could fix 7, 8, and 9.
Nah, you can't. The only way you can fix those movies is if you get the original prints, shit on them, and then light them on fire.
Woo!
Which is literally nothing that Disney and Kathleen Kennedy didn't do already. So, I'm just doing them a favor by making it real. So our final fun topic is, well, I wrote this down, but then I can't find the piece of paper that I wrote it down on, so I'm gonna wing it. What Nintendo game would you like to see Nintendo from the 7th or 8th gen? Would you like to see Nintendo re-release or remaster for the Switch?
That's a hard one because I feel like, if anything, the only one I think of that could be helpful in a sense would be Nintendo Land, but that'd probably be a push. Yeah, I said it'd be a push.
No, I just personally wouldn't want to see Nintendo Land again.
Yeah, the reason why I was iffy about that in the first place.
Kenoshi, you have any thoughts?
What was the question?
What Nintendo game would you like to see Nintendo re-release on the Switch from the 7th or 8th gen?
I think they released everything that people would really like to see released. So
there's no Donkey Kong 1 and 2. Donkey Kong Returns 1 and 2.
Oh yeah. They released Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze.
Yeah, but
Donkey Kong Returns.
Yeah. There's no Red Steel 1 and 2. Although really they could just keep Red Steel 1 and just port over Red Steel 2.
Yeah, Red Steel 2 is the one people liked.
It's actually pretty good. Much better than the first game. So, and finally, I guess we can get to our, as I like to call it.
Hey guys, I hate to cut this short, but I gotta cut out. So I'll talk to you guys on Saturday.
Right.
Okay, peace out.
Take care.
So I guess we have just enough time for us to do our
unpopular
the
opinion.
House of Representatives.
Unpopular opinion, correct. You want to go first, or shall I?
For me, I'm just gonna go with this one.
And I welcome.
Can you people stop trying to say that 2020 is still here? We're on 2021, and we're just getting through our messes right now. Try to not give 2021 heck yet.
I would normally agree with you, except 2020 was like having diarrhea. But just because you're over the toilet, what caused the diarrhea is still in your stomach until it all comes out, and we're still working it out. So even though we're into 2021, we still got to get the shit from 2020 out. So unfortunately, we have the prior business from 2020 is still being resolved right now.
Yeah, I started saying that, if anything, don't hate on 2021 just because 2020 is still with us. But
no, we're not on to 2020 yet. I'm just saying it. It's just we're moving to something else. It's just
we're trying to get to the end of 2020, right?
Exactly.
And like you mentioned it as a euphemism, it's not done yet.
Yeah, we're still over the toilet trying to work out whatever made us sick in 2020, and we're still over the toilet shitting it out now. So here's my unpopular opinion. My unpopular opinion is this, and I know some people might get upset, but I don't really care. My unpopular opinion is this. The unpopular opinion is, I've said this before, but I'm going to say it again. I have been playing Cyberpunk 2077, and aside from a few sequence breaks, which games of this type, like open world RPGs, tend to have that occasionally. So I'm not like, oh, this is terrible. And character textures not coming in. I really haven't had like all those bugs that I keep on seeing on YouTube where they're like, yeah, look at all this shit. I haven't seen any of that. Where I'm almost jealous that I don't have those level of bugs on my game. It hasn't really been that bad. I've actually been enjoying it. It's not my. I can't legitimately call Cyberpunk 2077 my game of the year for 2020 because it was too buggy and glitchy even on PC. But I think if CD Projekt Red continues to add content like they said they were going to, it could eventually be game of the year for me for 2021. Or at least a strong contender. But that's my unpopular opinion. That's the end of the video. Anything you want to pimp out, Joel, before we wrap things up?
No, at least not by normal standards. But if anything, I'd like to at least invite the people that are here to try to catch us on Saturday for our BS Busters Italy podcast.
Yes, where we would cover the end of the week stuff, everything like that. So with that being said, that's the end of the podcast. Rate, comment, share, subscribe. If you want to reach me, you can reach me at mrredfoxbsbusters@gmail.com or at Twitter at Matthew Wesley 91 at BS Busters on Twitter, or a link to the Discord. With that being said, that's the end of your podcast. Rate, comment, share, subscribe. Peace and good night.